Camino Portuguese lessons. Lessons number 3. Always be kind and not Mr. Nice Guy. As I mentioned in the first video and forgot to in lesson number 2, for me these lessons are not new. However, they're like a deepening learning, peeling of the onion, as they say. And this one is huge for me. Most of my life as a child, as an adult, I have been Mr. Nice Guy. At times I've been a doormat for others, whether it's employees, employer relationships, friendships, family, extended family, people I've dated at the odd time, etc. And at times some people still see me as that, whether they knew me from the past or whether they see me as being kind. And I know for me at this point in my life, I really remind myself to always lead with kindness and love. That being said, at times I still tend to be too nice. And I did find that during this Camino Portuguese trip, I really let that go. And like anytime I met someone on the trail, I'd say buen camino. That's a generic greeting that other pilgrims say to each other. And I noticed sometimes people would pass me, they wouldn't say that. And I wouldn't hold it against them. And then sometimes I would see them later in the day, later on the trail, I would still extend a buen camino. And so that's probably the biggest example on this trip. And another example was there was a group I was hiking with for about 3 or 4 days prior to arriving in Porto. And it was a wonderful group. We stayed in the same places. We were hiking together for like 2 full days and parts of other days, and really got along with them. And I know there was one evening, all of us, along with another American man, were eating supper together at this really nice locals place and celebrating one of the pilgrims, one of the hikers' birthdays. And the conversation kind of got into some political themes and royal themes. And to put it mildly, I had extremely different views about politics and the royal family than everyone else at the table who was speaking what they thought of, we'll just say a few North American political leaders and the British royal family. And that's not the point of this video, but the point of this video is that the old me would have just bitten my tongue and not said anything, been the nice guy, and just basically shut up. And I was honest with them. I did my best to stay calm, because I still can have a tendency to get heated when it's topics that I view very differently than others. But I was just honest with them. I said, you know what? I see this very differently. I do not like the British royal family for many reasons. I do not like ex-political leader for various reasons. And some of them were shocked, because I think up to that point, I think some of them thought I was Mr. Nice Guy and that I was just going to toe the line and I wasn't going to tell my opinion. But I thought, no, I am going to be honest here, and I want them to know that I am my own person with my own thoughts, and I still respect and like them as people. However, I do not agree with them on everything, and that's normal to me. There was one time on this trip where I was not kind, and I was thinking about it before shooting this video, and I would handle it in the exact same way again. The last 3 or 4 days of the Camino Portuguese, there was a lot of people mountain biking, and I'd say like 80-90% of them were very considerate, very respectful. They would ring a bell or they would say something before approaching us. But some of these mountain bikers, honestly, were absolute pricks. And I can say that honestly because spring to fall, I mountain bike much more than I hike. And I'm always ringing a bell, etc. And I remember it was actually yesterday, the final day of the Camino, coming into Santiago. There was a lot of hikers on the trail because basically a lot of people funneled into this last day. And I noticed there was these bikers coming towards us. They're going way too fast, number one. Number two, there was these 2 people that were biking side by side. The trail wasn't that wide. There was hikers on either side, some of whom had huge backpacks. I'm talking like 50, 60 liter packs full. And this one woman who's biking, I didn't understand her because I don't know Spanish, but she was basically yelling at us to move. And I started swearing at her. I told her to get the out of the way. I told her to go single file. And then she starts gesturing with her hand and starts yelling at me. Then I just swore back at her because it's like, you know what? That was so disrespectful, so uncourteous of her. As far as I'm concerned, she would have been best to slow down and to go single file through that area. And, I noticed that these bikers, all they had was water bottles. They didn't have even a small backpack with mechanical things for their bikes. So obviously their friends or a company had taken all of their gear for them. There's all of us hiking with these massive backpacks, or most of us, and these bikers yelling at us to get out of the way. So anyways, that's the one exception to me that I can think of during this trip where I was not kind. But that being said, moving forward in my life, sorry, it's a little windy. I'm optimistic you can still hear me okay. I'm doing my best to cover the mic. I'm doing my best moving forward in my life to always lead with kindness and love, and to release being Mr. Nice Guy, because bottom line is Mr. Nice Guy does not serve me, and it does not serve others in the long run. So once again, I really thank you for watching this video. A reminder, if you're not aware, there are other Camino Portuguese lesson videos. I'll post them below. And I do have other videos on the Camino Portuguese as well, with my video diaries, as well as 3D, but GPS maps and photos of each day from my Camino Portuguese. So I'll link those below. Feel free to check them out. If you're enjoying this video, consider liking and or subscribing. Take care and be well.